Hey, what's sizzling everyone? Mr. Bacon Lover here to bring you all a brand new series that I want to call is The Side of Bacon. Now, this is a series I'm going to do in between my typical editing that I do with my funny clips and whatnot, just something to kind of fill in gaps and whatnot, and, be able to talk about things that I really want to talk about. Now, the main reason you're probably wondering, why am I starting this series? I want to start this series primarily because I want to talk about some of my interests. I do enjoy recording these videos and making and editing and making you all laugh. Hopefully that's what the goal is with those. But I wanted to do a series where I can talk about my interest in things that I really do enjoy. And the first one I really want to do to kind of really set the stage for myself is films. I love films. It's one of those things outside of games. I actually think I enjoy films a lot more than I do games. Films are just one of my special hobbies, and especially horror movies. And I wanted to kind of put my foot out there on one of the feelings that I have for these things. Now, I will state this later in the film because you probably all saw in the start, I do have a timestamp in the beginning that was, if you do not care for all this, they got to move forward. But there's no particular order to this because I particularly feel that it is based off of your feeling of what you're feeling. Sometimes you're feeling a more spooky one, sometimes you're feeling more comedic, and I wanted to make sure that I was able to put that forward in this video. But it's not just going to be movies, it's also going to be random topics. Might be things that are happening within the gaming world. I might, again, review other films that come out because more movies are going to come out that I really want to talk about that are not part of this list. As well as a couple other interests. I think I wanted to talk about the Pokemon cards at one point because I really am part of that hobby as well. But there's a couple of things I just want to discuss about it. But it's just random little tangents that I have. And I really wanted to make sure I had a way to talk about this, put my input out there for the world to see, and hopefully start a discussion about things. Again, this is not going to stop me recording and editing my videos that I had before. I do really enjoy those, and again, this is just to fill in gaps, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. Just a little thing you guys can put on the background while doing things and just hear my opinions about things. A little bit more of a serious topic than the more comedic tone that I have. I don't want to keep this part of it rambling too long and take it up half the video, so let us get moving on to the actual part of the video. Thank you for listening to this little tangent, and let's get started. And I'm going to do another intro, obviously, for the people that skipped it all. Anyway, let's get on to that. Alright, hey, what's sizzling everyone? Mr. Bacon Lover here. Thank you all for coming on to this series of A Side of Bacon. Today we are talking about the top 10 horror movies. Now, I want to state really quickly in this that none of this is any particular order on how I am putting them in their list. Not like number one's the top number one horror movie. I wanted to make sure that I put this in just kind of a general list of the type of thing, because a lot of times it depends on what kind of horror you are feeling. There's different kinds of horror. There's comedic horror, there's suspenseful horror, there's slasher horror, there's many different forms of horror, and it's also subjective. Some people consider it scary. If more realistically, I don't find The Exorcism super scary, but my mom actually still thinks it's one of the scariest movies she's ever seen, and I laugh at that every time. It's just a subjective feeling that everyone has. I like slasher horror. It's one of those things that I really enjoy a lot of times, but my girlfriend, Crafty, does not. She doesn't really enjoy horror. Well, she doesn't enjoy slasher horror that much. She enjoys more of the suspense stuff. And so I wanted to make a general list for this kind of thing. Now, to start off with everything, I am going to not be using the actual clips from the movies. I might try to put some of the trailer pieces in there, particularly because I need to test my limits on what I can and cannot do with this kind of thing when it comes down to this. Again, I don't know what the copyright rules behind it are, so I'm going to be using adjacent things that I have related to it. Most of them it's going to be game footage until I can kind of really pin down what the actual copyright law is on this kind of stuff in it, but I wanted to make sure I acknowledged that as well within this. I wanted to make sure that I was stating, like, people are like, oh, I really want to see clips of it. I cannot guarantee that, but I'm going to try to use games and adjacent things to actually get the point across. More or less, this is something you can listen to. Just listen to random tangents that I have on this. But, again, I don't want to make this intro take a long time. So let's get started on my top 10 horror movies. If you guys are also wondering, this is being recorded on the 16th of September, 2025. I want to make sure I state that for any movies that are coming out or will be coming out in the future, just in case they're not on this list. Doesn't mean they're not bad or anything. I wanted to make sure that I acknowledge that and subscribe down to the channel for the rest of the content and possibly other future movie reviews, because I guarantee there's a lot of movies I want to talk about on their own that are not just horror, but right now we're talking about horror. But again, let's get started with that list. Starting off the list at number 10, I want to mention the Conjuring films. Now, I know that there are, at least at the time of recording this, 10, I think now 11, considering the new one is about to come out. I want to put out the Conjuring series first because it's probably one of the more modern horror movies that has been coming out. A lot of these movies are pretty older in what they've been doing because we don't see a lot of good modern horror. A lot of modern horror doesn't know how to get things right. But the Conjuring is one of those films I love. I love the franchise behind it. I still think the first one might be the best. A lot of people didn't like the third one. I actually thought the third one wasn't that bad. I actually kind of like the idea behind it. But, you know, I wanted to scream out to the whole series for it because, again, it's a more modern horror series. I like one of the ideas that it actually is based off of real people. I know a lot of times it's like, these are based off of true stories, but these are real people. Ed and Lorraine Warren are real, or were real people. They have currently passed, obviously. But I like that we get to see them in their cases. I know it's more of a movie thing, so it's not an exact telling, which is fine. I'd rather it be that than more a documentary or a found footage style one. And the actors play a great job at these roles. I'm like, the people who do Ed and Lorraine Warren particularly, I feel really great for them. They're a great couple. They really kind of drive the entire film the whole way through. And I think they're great. I think they're fantastic. Now, I feel that the horror for this thing is really good because a lot of it builds suspense. It starts out as really low-key and then starts to slowly ramp its way up, as most hauntings do within these movies. I'm particularly talking about the first one because, again, I think it's the best one. This one, I kind of like that we get to get used to this family and how they are within the first one, and we get to kind of see how the haunting really starts driving them apart, and we get to unravel the mysteries within it. It's one of those things that I think a lot of movies can't do anymore. They don't build the suspense correctly, or it doesn't feel real. And again, that's what I like about it, that it feels like a real situation because it was a real case that happened. And The Conjuring is just one of those things that really a lot of movies need to get to, is kind of take things slow at times. Don't be goofy, but allow you to really be with the characters and whatnot. Really feel for them, because then when the bad stuff starts happening to them, you can really start to feel for them and actually experience and be afraid. Like, you're not scared because it's something like, oh man, it's this unkillable entity. You're scared because these are characters you care about now, and you want to make sure that they make it out alive. And I think that The Conjuring does a really good job at that and really brings us back to a good sense of horror in this modern times. Moving on to number 9, we are going to be adding Get Out and Nope. I'm putting particularly these two together because it's more about Jordan Peele as director, more or less. I wasn't a big fan of Us. Nothing saying there's nothing wrong with it, but these are the two films that really stuck with me the most. In particular, I'm going to be talking about Get Out more because I actually think it's the film that I think really does a lot more with it. For starters, Get Out has a lot of commentary about our society, and I like that it's this, and I know this is going to get a little political. Nothing political about this. I also think this is really how the purpose of the message was supposed to be seen, but again, this is all up to interpretation. This is what I've seen it is. If you saw something else different, put it in the comments below. Let me know what you think. But it essentially is talking about how people treat African Americans nowadays. We are treating them in this particular way where we're like, okay, hey, we've wronged you and we want to do better. But there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, give or take your beliefs if they have been wronged or not. But you move on with that, and eventually you get to this point where you start treating them so well, and you treat them like they're this super special gods, that you're actually wrapping yourself back around to no longer treating them like people, which was originally the problem, was not treating them like people. And I like that the commentary behind it is this like, oh, we want your eyes. Oh, I want your set of skills. it really kind of wraps around to like, what the fuck? And it's kind of this really, it's taking a horror side of like, oh wow, the black guy dies, to like a whole new level of wrapping around. It's like, well, they're not like being assholes, but they're being creepy as fuck about it. And I really like that idea. I do think the main actor for it, did a fantastic job. The people that were part of the family did great. I'm not a big fan of how the girlfriend was, but again, that's nitpicking at that point. But I really like how he takes a lot of messages within his movies and really works with them. Nope was fantastic because, again, when I first saw it, I was like, what the fuck is with the monkey? But I finally understood later on that it's just like, you can't, animals are gonna be what they are. They're animals. You can't control an animal. They will always be what they are. They have their own instincts that they go off of. And I do really like that, especially because they were showing that it went from the monkey to the horses that they had to even the alien itself. And it was fantastic. I love that so much. That's the main reason I put both of these together, is particularly because I like that they both have this underlying message to them. I understand kind of like unification with us, but I couldn't really speak that much on it in a confidence like I could with these two. And I really like the messages that come with it, and I think that's why I put them on this list, because I really love where you can go with it, and you can watch it and keep seeing more and more of the layers as you do it. And I gotta say, it's amazing coming from a guy that used to do a lot of comedy videos. I was amazed when I saw this, and if you haven't, I really recommend watching any movie that he comes out with so far, because at the time of recording this, he has had nothing but bangers. Now, moving on to number 8, we are keeping on with the themings that I really enjoy. This one is Night House. I really enjoyed Night House more or less because it's got a lot of themes that I really enjoy, particularly because it's more of my deeper demons. One of the things that I always worry about is death, the inevitability of that it's going to happen at one point, in the darkness of what it could be. And as the movie says, there's nothing. Nothing is after you. And I like the idea behind that because it is really about death. That is what it is, but also this weird entity. I will say that the supernatural part that it kind of does into it, like, oh, we gotta build this doll thing to, like, confuse it and lock it in. What the fuck ever. That lost me in it. But beyond that, I love that the other ideas are so well done that it really sticks with me, and I really liked them a lot. A lot of it is, again, what there is after death and whatnot, and the idea that it is nothing, but not nothing as in the sense, but it's an entity called nothing, which is a really good idea. It also is about the grieving process, and partially, oh man, I lost this person, it's so important to me, but now I have to cope with that. But then as you're just going through this stuff, you're gonna find out things you did not know. And it's just kind of also with that idea of, do you accept the person on who you know because they're no longer around to defend themselves, or do you try to build this new narrative around this person learning this new information? They might have had their own, they not even might, in this movie they did have their reasons for doing all of this, but can you live with those reasons is a great reason for it. And I also, another thing that I just really wish we got more of in movies, that is another one of these reasons I actually put on the list, is a more really random out of this nowhere movie that I really put on here, was I love the use of negative space in its scares. There's a scene, and I'm going to try to pull up the scene from the trailer where it does it, because I know it shows it. It's where she's looking, and she sees the pole, and she's like, what the fuck? She goes a little bit to the left, and then she sees the pole, and it seems like everything around it makes up into the shape that looks like a person standing there. It's like, whoa, that's really trippy and cool. But then it turns, like it warps, and it's really cool. I love it so much. I like the idea of the negative space being used very well, especially with at the end we're on the boat, where it's like, what do you see? Nothing. And that's really great because there is nothing there, but you still see the shape of the person in the boat from the water, but it really is nothing. And it really makes this grand thing about it. And I think mostly the visuals and themes, again, with the idea of how death is, grieving process, and then the visuals are just one of these things that I really enjoy. If you want to see a movie that really has a great idea behind it. I really recommend Night House. And I really hope we get to see more of these visuals in the future for this kind of stuff. Now on to number 7, which we have The Thing. No, not the Fantastic Four thing. We are talking about the horror movie thing. Yeah, that's right. That's what we call it, little comedy in these videos. And I am talking about the original one, not the prequel that they made. The prequel's not terrible, but I will say it's nothing compared to the original one, the John Carpenter one. And I gotta say, if you've even heard of The Thing, you know the weird, abysmal body horror you see from this thing. And the meme was going around that a while ago that it was Among Us the movie, and that's a really good way of putting it, because the same thing about Among Us is, and I hate that I'm really bringing this up on a real serious topic about this movie, because it's the suspense of not knowing. It's who is it? Who can you trust? It's a constant guessing game. And I really like that in films. It's just, it really builds the suspense that you can't trust anyone. And there's this thing that's trying to slowly kill people over and over. And it evolves and it becomes this thing, pardon the name of the movie. And it's got this great suspense to it. And I gotta say that a lot of it is built off of that suspense and the body horror that comes from it. It's a good guessing movie where you're kind of like, can I trust this person? Can I not? And they make really good reasons on why it can and cannot do things. And also the location works super well because it means you can't just run away from it. It's like, oh, let's lock it in a door and let's just book it. Because you're in the Arctic. If I'm correct, they are in the Arctic. It's either that or there's some very icy climate. I want to say it's the Arctic, but I know they start speaking Norwegian in the start of the film, so for all I know, they might be up north somewhere. But again, none of that really matters. It's just that you can't run from this creature. You have to stay trying to contain it, and essentially, if it gets out, it can rule the world, essentially. And that's another thing. It's like this heroicness that they have with it. And it's really hard to try to talk about a film in a way that has already been spoken about in so many great ways without trying to just copy and paste what other people have said. And this movie really gets a great amount of suspense to it. And I'm going to repeat myself a lot because, again, I just cannot. I'm thinking about this because I haven't seen it directly in a long time, but I remember it so well because of how, again, good it is. And this movie is fantastic, and it's really kind of best not going in kind of blind with it. I shouldn't really be saying a lot of things that happen in the movie because it's kind of a good movie going blind with. And the ending is just, I'm not going to say anything with the ending because, again, but I can just say it's one of those great final shots in a movie. Like, when I think of great final shots in a movie, this one comes up. I love it. I also recommend you see this before you see the prequel, because if you see the prequel first, it's like, well, I know what this thing is. I know a lot about it, and so you should definitely go original prequel, which is the best way to be watching this. I know I'm going on a random tangent, and it's primarily because I want to talk about how great this is without actually going too in depth of it. Again, for going in blind. I know I repeat myself a lot, and I'm trying to work on that. And hopefully throughout these series, I will get better at doing that stuff. But it's like a movie we've never seen before, and really nothing else has really come close to ever being it, which is kind of amazing. We get a lot of copy films, but we don't get a lot of anything like it anymore, which has kind of been amazing, and I'm kind of happy to see that there's nothing really like this that much anymore. Now, with number 6, we're going to get a little bit more into the found footage style horror movies. That's right, we are going to be talking about the entire VHS series. And I'm bringing up the entire thing because not one in particular stands out above the rest. Now, they're all different themings with different kind of things, especially with their different tones. But as a whole, it's just a amalgamation of different things. They're all short horror things. Typically, it has a story that goes throughout the thing, but gets cut up between the little ones, and it's nice. It's an anthology of horror, which is really nice. And I put the whole thing because I think once you see one, if you like one of them, you'll just watch the rest of them because they're all super solid. I like that we get to see different directors and different ideas, and it goes between like really freaking creepy, really experimental, weird, and just comedic little bits. We get to see a lot of different ones. I know in the more recent one, we got one with like this weird thing with like, I remember it really stood out to me was with the one with the dogs. This lady was turning people into essentially like dogs, like kind of Stockholm syndrome of like, no, you're no longer a person, you're now a dog. And it was just super weird. I can't remember the name of it. I'll put the name of the thing on screen, but it was just like, what the fuck? There's a lot of great different ones. There's one where with a magician who it's like, oh, you gotta feed the cape to become for it to give you essentially the gift of magic. It's kind of that weird little thing. We get a couple of ones where I'm trying to remember different ones just so I can name them off different ideas that they have of them. There's just one with little people that capture a vampire that they're gonna use to go on on one of the buildings, on a political building for political statement, and it just is like, what the it just is that one. There's the one where the water makes you immortal, essentially. There's some really good ones, but again, I love it because it's snacky horror. It's just you get a lot of different versions in it, and you get to see a lot of different ideas. It kind of allows people to test things and try different things, and I know that's not really much of a review because it's so hard to state what you like, because sometimes you might go through one and be like, I was not that good, and then some of them you're going to be like, that was fantastic, I love that. But all of it is found footage, and I like found footage because it gives this realistic tone to it and very creative thing. And I thank Blair Witch Project for making this little fake thing and then kind of really allowing it to become what it is. And I think found footage is definitely really great. My girlfriend loves found footage, and I think that with her really liking it, I've grown to appreciate it a lot more. And if you've seen found footage, you're going to love this one. It seems like with them making more and more of these, it seems like this has become a yearly thing where we're going to get them. We've gone, I think, them around October in the last 3 years. Or 3 or 2 years, we've gotten them every year so far. So I'm hoping they continue this, and I'm really hoping that they try to do a little bit more with the ideas and whatnot, and we can see some really fun things. And I do like that we continuously get the same directors, but I want to see new people, allow them to be able to put their ideas out there, and hopefully they'll get their own movies. But, I mean, it's just great. Great little way of doing it, and I like the creativity that's on display. And before we move on to the halfway point, I gotta just say, Hail Ratma. As we move on to the halfway point, at number 5, I want to put Frankenstein's Army. Now, I really think this is an underestimated film. I have not seen a lot of people talk about this, and I do really like this. Continuing on with the found footage part of it, it's kind of the closest I've seen to a COD Zombies story, because it essentially is a group of Russian soldiers going in to enemy lines and trying to find this German scientist who's been working on these creation. And believe it or not, I mean, obviously Frankenstein's Army gives you kind of a really good idea of it, that it's essentially this guy that's making monsters. And what essentially he's doing is he's kind of mind controlling, kind of making, and a best way of putting it, it's kind of zombified people and turn them into these like abomination creatures. There's the famous one that's kind of the cover, which is the little, I like to call him the mosquito guy. I actually don't know what any of their names are, but you see him walking around like, I mean, it's really cool. I love this movie because of the war aesthetic, found footage, kind of historical, like what, like kind of weird shit the Nazis were into kind of thing. It's just, it's so well made. I really like this movie. And it's just a movie that I've not seen a lot of people talk about. And it's kind of more it's body horror kind of slasherous kind of thing with can they find this information and get out, and they're uncovering more and more secrets. This is a movie that not a lot of people are going to like, but I really wanted to talk about because it's an underrated movie in my opinion that I remember just seeing on a whim with my grandparents one summer, and I've loved it ever since. This movie is just one of those things that it's kind of hard for me to vocalize, but I just have this great feeling within this movie. This movie that brings me comfort in a weird way, not like a feel good, but like it's like this is just a really cool thing. And again, I think it's because of all my days playing COD Zombies. I really love that story, and this kind of is the closest I get to like a movie version of it without it actually being that. Again, I don't think this movie is going to be for everyone, and it's a really hard way to kind of put it when it's just something that I just love, and it just hits that nice little spot in my brain that I'm just like, yeah, give me this, give me more of that, and I'm down for it. I love this movie, but I don't think it's for everyone, but I had to put it on this list. Now, moving on to number 4, I'm talking about the Alien franchise, in particular Alien and Aliens. I like these ones the most of the franchise. I got a soft spot for Requiem, and then we got the newer ones, which was an entire conversation on its own. Again, subscribe to possibly see that in the future. But these last 4, I am structuring in a more fluid way. I did want to make this my last one because I love the Alien franchise. I've been watching it forever. It's one of those things I've seen multiple times. I've had multiple friends that I've gone through. We've watched the entire franchise from start to end, and it's fantastic. I love the Alien franchise. Again, I can't get over how good it is. Because I like these things that are essentially the perfect organism, and that's what it is. All the different versions that we see throughout the I was about to say symbiotes, the xenomorph's life cycle and whatnot, how it's evolved over time, how each time it not takes over a host, but goes through a host, it essentially evolves in a new way. I like how we saw essentially to Prometheus and whatnot, how eventually we start to see the xenomorphs happen, even though I'm pretty sure there's no retcon thanks to Alien Earth. I have not seen that yet. But again, Alien is just this, every sci-fi horror movie is just essentially the template to that was Alien. And Alien is just a group of people in space that essentially find an organism that they were not supposed to and have to survive or die one by one until the ending where someone makes it out alive and the thing comes back for one last flaw, and inevitably they win. And then essentially with that, it's just that Aliens essentially is like, there's a great review that I'll put on the screen that I saw that was a really good joke. It's like, oh, this is great, but I wish there was more than one of them. Holy shit. And it's fantastic. I love that review because it's literally what Alien is. It's like, all right, you thought the one was bad for Ripley. Guess what? Now we have all of them. We have a fucking fortress full of them. It's this great evolution of like stepping up to the next boundary of what it is in a more realistic way. It's also kind of saying that like, oh, how people underestimate this thing. It's like, don't worry, we're the Marines. We can handle this thing. They go in and they get their freaking asses wrecked, and good old Ripley's got to walk on in and be like, you know what, I got this. Don't worry, y'all. And then they ruin it with 3. Anyway. I love the suspense from it, the little picking off thing of it, and how it hunts. It's not a direct run around where, like, I think that might be one of the reasons it did so well is because in a lot of slashers, is what it was this direct front confrontational killer where it's like, I'm in front of you and I'm going to stab you kind of thing. It was, I am a hunter. The xenomorph is a hunter, and it crawls around and it stays in the dark. The scene with the cat, Jonesy, it is really good because it's like, oh, come here, kitty. And the cat sees it because it's a cat, it's paranoid about everything freaking around it. And it comes and gets the guy and it takes him up, and then the cat's, oh, well, we got him. And just no one ever knows where it is because it's just this stalking predatory killer. Alien is a film that I do not have the power in my brain to describe how great this movie is. I want to, unfortunately, I just can't. I don't have the English skills to be able to do it, and more like English in like the study way, not like, oh, no hablo español type, no hablo inglés type of Spanish, English. I love this movie. If you have not seen it and you love, well, if you love sci-fi horror, you've seen this movie. You've seen this movie 100 times because again, it is the plot to every single one. I could rant 100 years, probably repeating the same thing over and over, but I love this thing, and I definitely want to talk about the franchise as a whole at some point as well. We are finally on to the top 3, and number 3, we are doing Nightmare on Elm Street. That is right, the original Nightmare on Elm Street. God, fuck that remake. I don't even want to begin to talk about how drastically bad that one is. In particular, I am talking about kind of the idea around Nightmare on Elm Street, but the first one is definitely one of my it's really good, but I think as a whole, I like the idea, and it's kind of a guilty pleasure. The worse they get, they're guilty pleasures to me, so I guess I am talking a lot about franchises in this kind of thing, but I am talking about Nightmare on Elm Street 1, but more or less the entire thing. And as a little add-on, bless Freddy vs. Jason. What? Man, Freddy vs. Jason was one of the first kind of crossovers we got. The Avengers ran because Freddy and Jason walked. Nightmare on Elm Street is one of those things that I really like because of multiple ways that they do things, but also the fact that Robert Englund is one of my favorite people of this entire thing. I like that he's not, instead of being this, I'm going to hunt you down and I need your soul, I'm going to torment you, and I'm going to screw with you the whole way through. I love it, because he's just having fun with the role, especially the little smiles, like, he gives off these weird, goofy little smiles when he does things. He's having fun. He's not serious about it, so I like that he's comedic in that way, but with this horror aspect of it. And it's the idea as well with the horror part is that, like, you have to go to sleep eventually. You cannot hide from this. There's no way to hide from him. You're either going to die of sleep exhaustion, or you're going to go to sleep and possibly die by good old Freddy Krueger. And with that, it's just this really good way, and I think, again, I'm going to bring up the remake really quickly because there's a scene in the remake that bugs me, and I gotta find the trailer as well. I'm bringing up trailers because, like I said at the start, I don't know what my allowed with copyright systems are with this, so I'm gonna bring up pieces where I can. But there's good moments where, like, you'll be, like, you'll be sitting down on the couch in something. No, actually, no, let's go to the first one. I got a better scene to bring up. There's the scene where she's taking a bath, and, she's just like, all right, I'm going to try to relax, not try to worry about things. And with that, you see the hands start to come up because there's this gel of she's awake, and then she falls asleep where Freddy can get to her. And then his hand goes down because she wakes up from the knocking on the door. It's this really good aspect of the blur between reality and falling asleep. And it's like, oh, that's him coming to the real world. But he doesn't do that. He is in their dream world, but it's him putting it down because she's waking up. It's kind of her lifting up from that dream state, if you want the best way of me putting it. Well, the remake had a problem where it's like, there's a scene where one of the characters is in a classroom, and she's like, don't fall asleep, and then you see everything around her turn to ash, and it's like, well, I know she just passed out. I know this is part of the nightmare experience. There's no gel. It's not, okay, oh, I'm sitting on the couch and whatnot. Oh, no, actually, okay, I'm sorry, I keep going to do this couch thing where in my head, and I think I'm an actual scene from the movie, when they're on the bed, right? And you're just like, okay, and then he passes out, and then he gets sucked into the bed, literally falling into this dream state where essentially all the blood gets shot to the ceiling and whatnot, because that is him in the dream state, it doesn't just like, hey, you're now in a dream, it just boom to one. And I think there's I know he has his underground little area of goddamn pipes and whatnot, which is essentially his realm, but I like how it blends very well to one another. That I just don't think a lot of movies need to do that better with better blending. Sometimes it's like, all right, here's the exact cutoff moment that it happened. It's like, I know there's a logistical reason for it, but it doesn't need to happen. And it's just fantastic. And again, I like that he goofs around the whole time. When I'm going back to the goofing thing, like there's a scene where in one of the movies where a guy has a hearing aid on, and he's like, "Oh, you need your hearing aid," and he like the hearing aid grows and like envelops the kid's ear, and he takes his little claw hand and scratches onto the onto a chalkboard, and that's essentially like that's fucking with the guy. It's scary because it's like you need this thing to hear, but now he's using it to amplify and become this scary thing. But it's also him being like, "Oh, you gotta hear, buddy? Scratch a chalkboard." I love that. And I gotta say, one of those things that just really carries me throughout that is the psychotic, fun aspect that Freddy Krueger has through it. Now, moving on to number 2, we are continuing on with the trend of psychotic killers and more people that are having fun, and that is Scream. Scream is one of those movies that I have for multiple reasons I love, because it is in itself just a cliche-ridden movie, but there's a reason for that. It is in itself making fun of the trope of horror. It is the tropiest horror film ever made, and I think that's why the killers are having fun with it. And there's a lot of great scenes that come from it that have inspired a lot of great scenes. I mean, let's start off with the beginning. I mean, obviously, we are talking about, hey, what's your favorite scary movie?
Well, I'm getting ready to watch a video.
Really? What?
Oh, just some scary movie.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know.
You have to have a favorite. What comes to mind?
And I gotta say, like, it's just that fun idea of like, hey, yeah, well, what's your favorite scary movie? Because that's a lot of times what horror people talk about. When you find out someone's into horror, oh, what's your favorite scary movie? It's also like you can make that the reference and the actual question itself. And then we go through the scene of like, oh, like making like fun of it. It's like, yeah, well, I'm gonna take it. Like it's like, you know, it's just a casual conversation. Then becomes this really psychotic thing. It becomes these fear of like what a horror movie person is, making fun of like, well, if you like horror, you're actually a psychotic killer. And it's like, all right, well, let's make a movie about that and whatnot. I like that. It's fun. With it also has the funness of being Matthew Willard. Matthew Willard, say what you want about this man, is Shaggy. He's fantastic in this because he's having fun. And again, spoiler for the end, he's just like finding out he's the killer. He's just fantastic. But wait, there's more. I love that. It is just awesome. I love that kind of like, you figured it out, and now we're going to reveal everything to you, because he's just so excited about the whole thing. That's so fun. Such a great little way of being like, oh, I am a fucking batshit crazy motherfucker. And bless him for being freaking, whatever, Matthew Willard in, not Matthew Willard, William Afton in, Five Nights at Freddy's. I think Scream is that perfect thing, and I'm pretty sure when they do the Scream part where he cleans off the blade by pulling his hand through, he does that in FNAF as well. I'd like that little callback to him being Ghostface, and Ghostface is such an iconic face. You people see, Ghostface was everywhere at one point because it's such a simple design, and all it is this black little robe with that mask, especially with the painting. It's based off the painting. It's just so many layers to it that are just built into how we see things, and it's just great. And again, the best part about it is anyone could have been behind that mask. The way that they kind of play it off is Spider-Verse has the thing. It's like anyone can wear the mask, but Scream has the exact same thing. Anyone could be the killer because it is Scream. It's just kind of paranormal person, or like not paranormal, parasocial thing where like someone that is normal on the outside could be completely psychotic and do these things. It could be anyone, and I love that about it. Again, and I like the idea that it's troping horror movies, especially with the scene in what is it, the bathroom the locker room, I believe it is, where she is like, "Oh no, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna kill me?" Which they they make fun of that in Scary Movie. A lot of people think that's the Scary Movie bit, but that's in Scream, where she's like, "Oh," and then she dies, but Scary Movie takes the step further and is like, head chopped up. Oh my, now I'm a headless corpse. Which again, Scary Movie also really just made a great thing of just like taking essentially what Scream was and taking it a step further by really parodying a lot of things. But Scream itself is its own parody. It is a parody of horror movies. And it took itself and became a horror movie. So I think the thing is where it became its own thing, Scream Syndrome, where you become something so well at parodying something that you eventually become an actual source to the original thing. You become almost a step further in its original thing. And then Scary Movie took it a step further by becoming the full comedy version. And I like that Scream hits that perfect middle spot of becoming tropey because it's laughing at horror, but also being an authentically good movie on its own. And again, moving on to number 1, we are going to really get into the idea of that at its finest. Now, I want to take a quick moment really quickly before we get on to the number 1 one on this list. I want to do a quick moment of the honorable mention of Creature from the Black Lagoon. And not just an honorable mention to that, I also want to say a nice little quick thing really quickly for my grandpa. He passed away a couple of years ago, and I want to thank him more or less in this as a way of saying thank you for getting me into this genre. It wouldn't be without him. My grandpa, John Leach, he was a great grandpa, a great father, and if it wasn't for him going down every summer, we'd go down, I'd watch a horror movie with him. We'd look at an old one, we'd see a new one, we've seen good, we've seen bad, we've seen cheesy, we've seen goofy, we've seen absolutely terrifying. And I wanted to take this moment to quickly give an honorable mention to the movie and to him for getting me into this genre, and I want to say thank you so much, Grandpa. I love you and I miss you so much. But with that, I want to say thank you everyone for watching this, but let's get on to number 1. And moving on to the final spot of this list, we are doing Cabin in the Woods. Now, as I said, I was going with a nice little list. We went from crazy killers to very satirical about horrors, and that's what I'm now doing with Cabin in the Woods. I think Cabin in the Woods is fantastic. Now, remember, none of these are in a particular order. I'm not saying this is the greatest horror movie made, but I do like this one a lot, primarily because it is deconstructing horror in such a great way. Cabin in the Woods is one of those movies that is like Scream in a way that it becomes a parody to itself, but it also makes a really good movie on its own. I love that essentially it breaks down horror into its components. It's with its title alone, it's Cabin in the Woods, the most horror setup imaginable, but it takes more and more into that. All right, we have to break down this thing to appease the Ancient Ones, which is a stand-in for the audience, which is really fun because it's the cliches that we expect. All right, we gotta have it where, like, okay, we got the jock, we got the nerd, the virgin, the stoner, the whore. We have all of these characters, and they all have to die. Oh man, they passed the harbinger. It means, and they don't heed his warnings. Look at Friday the 13th and any horror movie where they go into the woods at all. Be careful of the woods. You have to be safe from that. Bam, past that, get to this cabin in the woods, an isolated area where things can happen. Get into the basement or haunted area, create the haunting, and then one by one they start getting picked off. But they use the establishment of this organization watching it because it's their job to make it happen. Happens every year, which is almost a Halloween type of thing. Every year we gotta go on Halloween. A lot of people gotta watch their horror movies, and we gotta see the slasher-filled ones that we have. All right, yeah, make sure to entertain the Ancient Ones with the titties and whatnot. It's this really great structure of horror. And I love it. The cliches are brought to the forefront, but they make a logical reason for the cliches to exist in the world. And I love how they do that. This movie essentially, and this movie gets better the more you see horror. The more horror movies you see. I remember seeing this movie when I was kind of newer to horror movies, and I'm like, it's really good. And I rewatched it at one point after seeing a lot of horror movies, and I'm like, oh my god, I get it. And then I remember rewatching it with my girlfriend, and it was even better because it was because I understood more and more of the references within it. There's the scene where they have the board of all the different monsters that we chose, and that's kind of fun. It also with that also shows that's like, okay, well, I think the scene is like, I should have won the bet because they're all betting on what they were going to choose, and they were originally going to be like, well, I should have won, I bet it on zombies, like, but they chose redneck torture family zombies, which is it's a subgenre to the subgenre of zombies. It's like, all right, we got monsters, but then it's zombies, but then there's a version of zombies, essentially. Because you also got to remember that zombies can be like, oh, it's a viral zombie, oh, it's an infection, ones that are caused by bites, again, a virus that's in the air just happened to happen, like The Walking Dead. I mean, it's one thing that just subverts itself. Monsters are like the ancient monsters that rule the land. Man-made monsters that were brought into the area. There's so many versions of one thing, and that's one of the great things about it. It understands the rule and the horrors that come with it. And it's a fantastic thing. And again, rewatching it even more, you see a lot of the references that are made by it. Me and her watched it with one of our friends, and he was, it was a great film. We were laughing at the stoner. Go for a walk. Go for a walk. Because again, it's like this weird ethereal whisper that they hear to like, go do this thing. And I like that it also is making fun of itself. It's like, I'm not going to listen to this thing. Fuck you! I'm the master of my own destiny. So I'm gonna go for a walk. He fell for it anyway, even though he was against it. I'm now preaching about the different parts of this movie that I loved because it's so good. Eventually, they find out that every time they kill someone, they have to break a vial, essentially, of blood, and it's an offering to the ancient ones. And at one point, you don't see that one of the characters didn't die. Well, you actually don't know that, but he doesn't die in it, and it's just fantastic because you're like, oh my god, that's not supposed to happen. This guy was supposed to die this way, and it's an upsetting to the process, to the ritual as they have it, to the entire thing, and it's just phenomenal how they do that. With it, they also, and then they go into this facility, and they just see millions of different versions of millions of different versions of monsters. They have a unicorn at one point that kills them. They have the mermaid and the merman, which is really funny. They have essentially the reference to Hellraiser. I'm pretty sure they have the girl from The Ring is in one. It's a really great thing. I guarantee there's a video on YouTube if you want to see it. All the different references and the boxes that they had of all the different monsters. It's so good. And I really wish that they could remake Cabin in the Woods a little bit. I mean, nothing will beat the actual one, but actually have the licenses to these characters. It's like, yeah, hey, imagine having a box that's literally like the creature from the Black Lagoon. I mean, you can get away with some of them because they're now in public law, like mummies you can get away with and stuff. But I wish that they were just able to use it. I know on the board, I'm going back to that, they said the Deadites, which are from Evil Dead, which is fun. And you can tell that really the main premise is around Evil Dead. That's kind of where the entire thing came from. And I think what makes this movie fascinating is this movie was made before it actually happened, because they made the movie and no one wanted it and they put it on, or something like that. Either that or the company went out of business or something. And they shelved it, and no one was like, we don't want to pick this up. And so eventually this movie never saw the light of day. And I love these kind of stories where someone's like, we'll buy it. We'll take the risk on it. And what they do, it fucking succeeded. Movies like these are the greatest things. I know at the time of making this, K-Pop Demon Hunter was on the shelf. Well, not on the shelf. It was 7 years of development. And look at how it fucking did. Someone took a risk on it and it fucking turned out the most #1 thing they've ever done. And I'm happy that they did that with this because it's such a subversion of it. I hate the word deconstructed, but it takes horror and deconstructs it and repurposes it into something. Because in itself it's cliched, but that's kind of the gag of the film. But they structure it not in a way that's scary movie is always, hey, look at that. It's like, wow, wouldn't it be stupid if I went in there? It's like, yeah. It's like, well, I'm gonna do it anyway. That's a gag of horror. Well, being an actual deconstruction and remaking it is like, okay, it's like, oh my god, something scary is in there. Or, oh, no, I have a great scene from the movie. It's where, they're all together, and Chris Hemsworth is in this movie. Fun fact, really before he became Thor, and thanks to this movie, he became Thor. I love that fact about this movie. Is that they're walking and they're like, all right, we need to stay together and don't split up. We're safer as a group. And they're like, and that's like a subversion of what you normally do. It's like, hey, let's split up, gang. Fucking Fred. And they're like, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. And they pump gas into it that clouds his judgment. And he's like, I think we should split up. That's it's in itself like, yeah, that's what they do in horror movies, but they made a reason it exists in the movie. There's a reason that they make a dumb decision because it's a making fun of the idea of it, but also still allowing it to happen. And that's what I love. It's such a fantastic idea. Throughout the end of it, essentially, we go down to the end, we see all the different things, and the characters start dying, essentially, and we get a grand thing with Sigourney Weaver. I want to say that I like Sigourney Weaver being the little fun cameo in here, but because Alien is like one of the biggest, is still one of the craziest horror movies that ever was there. I just feel it doesn't really match it because, you know, she's a space lady, and this is all down to earth ones, not really sci-fi monsters. So, but it's still fantastic to see her in a movie, and then they kill her. And at the end, it's great because they lose. The ancient ones break out of the bottom, and you see the hand, and it breaks it, and it's just because they're angry because it didn't go according to plan. I love that it's just like, yeah, they lost because you didn't do things right. Yeah, they're upset, even though in actuality, all the audience is like, this is fucking awesome. I also like that they took the time to make fun of other horror. They're talking about one of the places has to succeed to appeal it. And I like that one of them, it shows Japan, and it's a bunch of school kids that are brought together, and they put it inside of a frog. It's just Japanese horror, am I right? School kids, evil spirits, cute ass ending. I'm going on random tangents. I'm doing this the next day compared to when I did the rest of them, but I love this film so much, and if I really want to say this is a film that like you should see. Go through a bunch of horror movies, but good amount of classic ones, obviously. Hellraiser, Evil Dead, the original Evil Dead. Well, you could do the original or the new one. Both of them really work, to be honest with you. Some type of any zombie films, just classic ones, Friday the 13th, all that stuff. Go through these experiences and then rewatch it. You'll have such a good understanding of it, because the first time it's really nice to not know what's happening, even though I just kind of went through a spoiler central with it. Get some people who've just want to have a good time. You can watch it and it's great, but the second time you watch it, you already know what's going to happen, so you can sit back and laugh at the moments of it. And it's fantastic. I love it. So I think Cabin in the Woods is one of these fantastic horror movies, and I put it particularly at number one because I wanted to combine everything and kind of state, once you've seen all these, if you see this movie's fantastic. It's amazing. And it really subverts, I'm sorry, I just hit my mic there. It really subverts the horror cliches that happen. And I love it in so many ways. And I really think that's the reason I put it at the top of the list. Again, no particular order, but I had to put this last just because it's a culmination of all of the things in horror that have been absolutely great. And with that, we have reached the end of my top 10 horror movies. I want to thank you all so much for watching and enjoying through this entire thing. If you have stuck through this entirely long video, I want to say thank you so much. If you want to see more content kind of like this, talking about movies and whatnot, kind of a little bit enjoy the series of Side of Bacon, go to make sure to subscribe and press the like button down below and comment to me what's your favorite horror movie, or give me like a general list of what you really like. Again, if your list wasn't on here, if your movie wasn't on here, it doesn't mean it's a bad choice. Or horror is subjective. Some people prefer different versions of it. Me, I'm more lean towards the slasher version of it. And I just wanted to say thank you all so much for joining me through this list. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Enjoy the horror movies out there, and support them when you can, is the best thing I can also say. Horror doesn't really typically do that well for a lot of people because people consider it not a real film. But and if anything, I consider it more of a more pure version of a film. Again, I cannot stress enough. Thank you all so much for watching. This is Mr. Bacon Lover, signing out. Peace.